All right, let's just jump right in. What if the most advanced piece of technology on Earth wasn't sitting in a lab somewhere in Silicon Valley, but was actually inside every single cell of your body? Today, we're diving into some material that puts forward a pretty wild idea that your DNA is way more than just a biological blueprint. The argument is that it's a cosmic antenna with a power that we've somehow been taught to forget. So get this. This is the central claim right here. It's a bold statement, basically saying there's a direct line between our own biology and all those seemingly impossible things the ancients did. It really sets the stage for what this source calls a hidden human power. Okay, so if we have this hidden power, where is it? Where is it hiding? Well, the source points us to this huge, mostly unexplored territory, right inside our own genetic code. Specifically, the part that, well, science hasn't really had a good answer for. 98%. Just let that sink in for a moment. The source material basically says, hold on, that's a little suspicious, isn't it? Why would evolution, this super efficient process, keep a massive amount of useless stuff in the command center of every cell? I mean, it doesn't add up. And that is the central mystery we're looking at. And this is where the whole idea of junk DNA gets flipped on its head. Instead of being evolutionary leftovers, it's presented as this incredibly sophisticated piece of biological hardware. The idea is that these are our quantum antennas, designed to receive information from a unified field of consciousness, picking up on stuff like gut feelings, those weird coincidences, or sudden flashes of insight. Now, here's the thing. According to the source, this isn't some brand new discovery. Not at all. It's actually a rediscovery of knowledge that ancient cultures all over the world understood deeply. The source claims the clues are just scattered all throughout history. Think about the Egyptians. We're told they were just building tombs, right? But what if they were building, consciousness technology? And the Vedic rishis weren't just meditating, they were tapping into a universal information field. The Gnostics, the Andean cultures. The argument is they all had practical working knowledge of how to use the human body to connect with other dimensions of reality. So the big question is, if this knowledge was so powerful, what happened to it? Why don't we all know this? Well, this quote from the source offers a pretty intense theory. It wasn't just lost by accident, it was actively suppressed. The idea is that if you empower every individual with this kind of inner technology, it threatens any power structure that relies on being the middleman between you and the divine. And this all leads to what the source calls the Great Forgetting. It's this idea that our whole way of seeing the world was fundamentally shifted, like a kind of programmed amnesia that disconnected us from our true multidimensional selves. And this chart really lays out the two opposing views perfectly. You've got the ancient view, where everything's connected. Consciousness, matter, you, the universe, it's all one unified thing. But then the modern materialist view comes along and just chops it in half. It separates mind from body and reduces us to little more than biological machines living in a random mechanical universe. According to the source, this didn't just happen overnight. It was a step-by-step process. You can see it here. First, Descartes comes along and philosophically splits the mind from the body. Then, Newton describes the universe as a big, predictable clock. And it all leads up to this modern idea that our genes are our destiny, set in stone, and that's all there is to it. But, and this is where the story gets really interesting, there's a huge twist. The source argues that the very science that was born from that old mechanical worldview, I'm talking about quantum physics, is now poking all these holes in it. It's accidentally leading us right back to the wisdom of the ancients. The cracks in that old way of thinking are getting too big to ignore. Okay, so how? How does modern science supposedly confirm any of this? What's the actual connection here that the source is trying to make? Well, the source points to three big areas. First, there's the observer effect in quantum physics. That super weird finding that just the act of observing something actually changes it. That suggests consciousness plays a role in creating reality. Second, you've got epigenetics, which is a total game changer. It shows our genes aren't a fixed destiny. Our thoughts and feelings are the primary environment that tells our genes which ones to turn on and off. And finally, there's the idea of morphogenetic fields, which suggests our DNA is like a radio receiver, tuning into a collective field of information. And get this, it goes even deeper. The source claims that if you look at the actual math, the physical structure of our DNA, it's not random at all. It says you find these fundamental patterns of the universe, like the golden ratio and Fibonacci numbers, woven right into its design. The argument is, that's no accident. It's built that way because it's meant to be in tune with the cosmos. And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. It's a complete flip of the script. The takeaway is that you're not a victim of your biology. You are in the driver's seat. Your consciousness is telling your biology what to do, not the other way around. I mean, that's a huge shift in how we see ourselves. Which brings us to the big, so what, right? The most important part. If we have this incredible technology just sitting inside of us, how do we turn it on? How do we actually use it? Well, according to the source, it all comes down to a conscious choice. So the source redefines imagination. It's not just daydreaming or making stuff up. It's more like previewing a potential reality. When you activate your imagination and truly feel the reality of what you want before it happens, you're not pretending. You are literally selecting a reality that already exists as a possibility. And this whole process is what's called conscious manifestation. The way it works, as described here, is basically through resonance. It's like tuning a radio. When you get your thoughts and your feelings aligned on the same frequency, you broadcast a powerful, coherent signal. The quantum field then responds by sending back experiences that match that exact signal. But this isn't just about you. It has an impact on everyone. The source argues that every single thought and emotion you transmit goes out and affects the whole collective field. Operating from fear and separation, that just adds density, makes things heavier for everyone. But resonating with gratitude and love, that elevates the frequency available to all of us. And here's the kicker. There is no neutral. Being passive just supports the old, limited way of being. So we end with this final, powerful question posed by the source material. It frames our time right now as a profound choice point for humanity. Are we going to stay tuned to the old station, the one broadcasting limitation and fear? Or are we going to consciously choose to recalibrate our own internal technology, our own cosmic antenna, to resonate with unity, abundance, and creation? A fascinating and provocative thought to leave you with.